Hi there. In this video we'll take a quick look at how we can use FileZilla to manage our files locally and remotely. So in order to upload some files to a remote server, we do have to look at our local files first, because those are the files that we'll be uploading. So of course we have to do a little bit of local file management before we can upload them to a remote server. So I'm just going to quickly minimize FileZilla, and I'm going to open up File Explorer. So this is Windows File Management Program. It comes with Windows. And if you don't have the little folder icon there, I'll just close that. You can just type in File. Should be the first thing that comes up at the top here on the left. Another way of accessing that is holding down the Windows key. That's between, on my keyboard it's between Function and Alt, but it's probably between Control and Alt on your keyboard. You hold that down and you tap E, and that'll allow you to open as many of these windows as you like. If you use this tool here, you can only open one at a time. If it's already open, you can't open another one. But Windows E can open several of these. So that put me to this area called Quick Access. When I work with my websites, I usually have one folder where I keep all of my websites, and then I'll have a folder for each website. So I'll just show you an example of that. So generally, by the way, it's best to put everything in My Documents, this Documents library here. The reason for that is it's easy to back up. Easy to move from one computer to another. So I'm going to click on Documents here, and then I'm going to add a new folder. So you see I'm on my Home tab here of this ribbon setup, and I could just choose New Folder. Inversely, you can right click anywhere in here and choose New Folder. So I'm going to click on New Folder, and I'm going to type in Websites. So this is where I'll keep all of my websites. To finish entering the name, I just press Enter. If I press Enter again on my keyboard, by the way, that'll put me inside of that folder. So now you see there's this is called, it's kind of like a breadcrumb. This PC, Documents, Websites, shows us where we are in our directory structure. If you want to get out of Websites back into My Documents, you click on this little up to Documents. Now, frequently you'll need to rename your files and folders or decide that you had a better name. So I'm just going to call this Marcus's Websites. So to rename this, my favorite way is just to click once right on the text, like that. Let me just show you that again. I'm going to click away. So clicking once on Websites selects that folder. If I click once again right on the text, now I get that blue selection indication. If I click before Websites, I can type in Marcus Websites. I don't want to say Marcus's because that involves punctuation. So I'm going to put all of my websites in there. So again, to finish off renaming, I'll just press Enter, and to go inside of that folder, I'll press Enter again. So I'll add the Langara, a folder for everything that we do together for Langara, and I'll just call it Langara or something like that. So again, I'll use the same method. I'll click on New Folder. Again, I'm on the Home ribbon while I do that, and I'm going to type in Langara, and I'll press Enter. And I'll press Enter again to get in there, or you can double click, whatever you like to do. I like to press Enter to finish naming, and then since my hand's still on Enter, I press Enter again. I'll try to use my mouse more for these screencasts, however, because you can't see what my hands are doing on the keyboard, so I'll try to avoid using the keyboard. But in real life, I use the keyboard for everything. So this is the Langara website. Now, generally, your website setup, you'll have a folder where you keep all of your style sheets. We'll get into that later on. We have a folder where we keep all of our images, and then in the main folder, you'll have all of your actual web pages, which are called HTML files. So what I'm going to do is just add all of that stuff. So I'm going to add a folder for images. I'm going to add a folder for the style sheets. and then I'm going to add an HTML document, and we can do that all with the file manager. So I'll choose new folder. I'm going to type in images. Now it's best to use all lowercase for everything that you share with the web. The web is case sensitive, so you'll have to remember if you use something other than lowercase. If you just always use lowercase, then you don't have to remember the arrangement of your uppercase and lowercase letters. I'll press enter to finish that off. Now I don't want to go inside of it, so I'm just going to choose new folder again. And that puts even though I had images selected when I did that, it didn't put that new folder inside of images. It created a brand new folder alongside images. And I'm going to type in CSS for cascading style sheets. Again, that's one of the technologies we're going to look at later on. And I'll press enter. And now I want an HTML document as well. So in this situation, you notice you have new item. So I can click on new item, and depending on what software you have installed on your computer, it gives you a choice of a bunch of things. And I want a text document. Everything we do together will be with text. So I'm going to click on text document, and I'm going to type in index, and I'll explain index later on. I'm going to backspace over the .txt and type in HTML. Now this brings me to an important thing that we need to look at. Presently you may not be seeing that dot and some characters after it. I just pressed enter on my keyboard, and yes, I do want to change it. I know what I'm doing, so HTML works for me. Notice when I finished naming it, I get this little icon. So that's because Chrome is associated with all HTML documents on my computer. That may not be the case for you, depending on what browser you generally use. But again, as I mentioned before, I'll be using Chrome for everything we do together. So again, I have this .html visible. Now I have that visible because I've changed my view options. So presently what I'm looking at right now is I've turned on extensions, and I'm also seeing something called detail view. So detail view will give you these columns with extra attributes about the items that we see here. So for example, date modified, we have type, and then the actual file size. So to get details, you go view, and then you choose details here. Here's the other views, by the way. Large icons, extra large icons, I never use that. Medium icons, list, I sometimes use that if I want to see a lot of stuff all in one screen. Large icons, small icons, and again, details is my favorite. Details allows you to sort by name, so if I click on that name there, right in the column, it'll sort alphabetically. Date modified, it'll sort chronologically, either oldest to newest or newest to oldest. Type will group the file types. So once we have more than one file type in there, you'll see groups. And then size, we can sort from large to small. This is something useful when I clean files out that are too big and I no longer need. And now to get that .html, I have that file name extensions checked. So that's a little bit about manipulating files locally. Now I'll just show you one more thing. I'm going to add another document, and then I'm going to delete it just so you can see how to delete it. I'll add another folder and delete that as well. So I'm going to go back to my home tab here, and I'm going to choose new folder, and I'll call this movies or something like that. Now I realize that I don't actually have any movies on my website. They're all on YouTube, and I just create links to those movies, so I don't need that folder. So to delete it, you can just use that X, or you can press delete on your keyboard, or Control D. Same thing with a file. So I'll create a new file, new item, text document. I'll call this about. Now this is something that's very common. If you have a two-word file name for HTML documents, anything you're going to share to the internet, that is, you want to avoid spaces. Because if you put a space in there, the internet will replace that file name in a path with %20. So that increases the file name. So usually, commonly you'll see people will use a dash. And then .html. And then I'm just going to hit delete to delete all of those extra letters. And I'll press enter. Say yes. Now, there's a number of various conventions about this. People will frequently use underscores instead of a dash, or they'll capitalize the first letter of the second of each word after the first. So basically, they'll delimit these words with either a dash, an underscore, or an uppercase letter, and all three of those can be read by a search engine. You don't have to have about.us as the search term. You can say about space us, or about us altogether, I believe will work. So that's important. So frequently, my convention, again, keeping in mind what I said about all lowercase, if you want to keep everything, all of your file names lowercase, I always put a dash between multiple word file names. And the reason I don't use an underscore is because frequently links will get underlined when they're displayed on a website, and you won't be able to see that underscore there. It'll look like a space. So you may, if you copy that file name down, if you type it out while you're looking at it, for example, you might type the wrong file name. And then again, the capitalizing each word is useful, but again, I like to use lowercase for all of my file names. Now, I'm going to delete this file, just like a deleted folder. Just press delete. So that's basically using the local file manager in Windows. Again, we used it to create files and folders, rename, and delete. Thanks so much for watching.